starting, as always, with one of our questions that comes in advance from our audience joining us online. And then we'll open it up to any questions that anyone here has. There's a microphone here in the center, so if you have a question, just feel free to come up and tell us your name and where you're from and ask the question. But we start with one of the ones from advance. I feel abandoned and betrayed by God because of all of the hardships that I'm facing. How can I rebuild my trust and faith in a higher power that seems to have forsaken me? This is a great question, and it's something that comes up so frequently. We believe in God, we're connected to God, we're people of faith, until something happens in our life that we didn't want to happen. Some accident happens, somebody we love gets sick and dies at much too young of an age. We get some awful diagnosis, our house burns down. Something happens. And we decide, forget it, like what's the point? I've been praying, I've been going to the temple, I've been doing my puja, I've been doing my mantra, I've been doing all of these things. And still my house burned down. Still my best friend got run over by a car. Still this happened or that happened. And we lose faith. And the dilemma is that most of the time we try to rebuild our faith by convincing ourselves that, oh, well, actually God does all of these other nice things for you. And this is the mistake in the way that people try to address it. Yeah, your house burned down, but look at the rest of your life. Look at all the wonderful good things that you got. Look at all the times that God helped you. And we try to get into this kind of convincing situation where we're weighing God's pros and cons, and sort of judging, is it worth believing? And that's a mistake. We don't believe or have faith because of what we're going to get out of it. That's a contract. Faith is not a contract. Faith is not about, I'll do this much japa, or this much meditation, or this many abhishek pujas, or I'll give this much dakshana in the mandir to a sanstha. Therefore, my child should get into the university they want to go to. Therefore, nobody I know should ever get sick or die. That's not what faith is. Faith is an experience of a presence that is there all the time with us. But it's not a presence that ever promises us, your house isn't going to burn down. I mean, just look at the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna is there on earth, in form, driving Arjun's chariot. And what happens to Arjun's kids? Right? So, I find the Bhagavad Gita just to be the simplest and most powerful, easy to understand teacher. If God was saying to us, have faith in me and nothing bad will ever happen to you, Arjun would not have lost his children. Krishna would have been there. Nothing would have happened. But those aren't the promises that God makes us. God doesn't say in any scripture that I'm aware of, in any way that I'm aware of, God does not say, have faith in me and everything's going to go your way. Have faith in me, nothing bad will ever happen. Have faith in me, you'll always get straight A's, you'll get the promotions. Nothing like that. The promise we are given is, have faith in me. And even while your life goes up and down, as it will, because that is the very nature of life, you will not go up and down, because you will be anchored in me. That's the promise. It's not that God is saying, I will stop the waves in the ocean for you. God is saying, anchor in me. Waves will be there. It's the nature of the ocean. But anchor in me, and you, on the deepest, corest level, you will not go up and down with the waves. You will have access to a knowing, a truth, an experience of self that doesn't go up and down with that which happens in the outer world. It's why when we watch the stories of the divine ones, whether we're looking at epics like the Mahabharata or the Ramayana, or whether we're looking at the lives of saints, Swami Vivekananda, Paramahansa Ramakrishna, saints who left their bodies at ages that we would say was far too young, left their bodies in times of pain. Raman Maharishi, not one of them ever had any sense of why is this happening. We look at Bhagavan Buddha, the Buddha. Look at the passing, look at the last days of the enlightened masters. And what you see, the body is dying. In some cases, they're in incredible pain. But that inner light, it never goes out. It never stops shining. There's never a moment of, why is this happening? Not only am I a good person, but like, I'm an enlightened master. Why is this happening to me? Nothing like that. They don't even try to use their powers. The disciples of Ramakrishna Paramahansa, he had throat cancer. And many of them said to him, please, take my throat. Say some mantra, wave some magic wand, ask the mother to just give you my throat. I will die, I will take your pain. And he looked at them and he said, what is the difference between your throat and my throat? There's no difference, there's no you and me. In those moments where it's so easy for us to lose faith, we take inspiration and truth from the lives of these masters, where we watch, even in those last moments, how they are. Do they try to change? Do they wish they could change? Do they bargain? Do they use their powers? Do they chant a special mantra that, makes it go away? Because they've got the power, of course. But they never use it. It's so fascinating. They don't use it. Not on their own bodies. Not on the bodies of their loved ones. Because there's no sense at all in them of my connection to God, or even my experience as God, means that I'm somehow exempt from the laws of nature. The laws of nature are up and down, success and failure, gain and loss, degeneration. It's the nature of nature. So don't try to regain your faith by convincing yourself how many good things God does for you. Recognize that you're looking at it entirely in the wrong way, and that faith should be rooted in the fact that God is there even in my worst moments. Yes, trials and tribulations, struggles in my life, rather than saying, okay, God, I don't believe you're here. That's the time to say, God, hey, I need you. Be with me. Not wave your magic wand, and if you don't, then I don't believe. But be with me in my struggle. Because when you're there, then it won't be such a struggle. Right? It's like that beautiful story of footprints of the man, the devotee who's asleep one night, and he has this dream where he sees his entire life spread out across a beach at the ocean. And he sees footprints in the sand by the water. Sometimes there's 2 sets of footprints, and sometimes there's just one. And he sees this in his dream, and he wakes up, and he cries out to God. He says, God, I've just seen my life. The path of my life as I walked along the beach. He said, and most of the time, you were with me. Most of the time, there were 2 sets of footprints. He said, but in those most difficult moments, the moments where I really struggled, there was only 1 set. How could you leave me in those most difficult times? And God says, my child, that's when I carried you. That's when I carried you. So it's not that God came in and magic wanded away the difficulties. It's that God comes in and carries us through them. And that's the faith. That's the foundation of faith. Yeah, great question. Other questions? Yes, just up. The mic is right here.
I can express myself in Hindi better, I think.
No problem.
Sure.
I'll translate after.
साध्वी जी प्रणाम.
Pranam.
गुरु चरणों में फिर प्रणाम. बाल्यकाल में एक किसी घटनाक्रम के तहत ये अनुभव तो हो गया था कि ईश्वर है, और उस उपरांत कुछ 10 सालों से 15 सालों से एक अनुभव है कि ईश्वर बात भी करता है. उसका माध्यम अलग होता है, ये मैंने महसूस किया. कहाँ तक मेरी अनुभूति है मैं अपने आप को एक्सप्रेस नहीं कर पा रहा हूँ,
कोई बात नहीं.
लेकिन ये तय है, ईश्वर के सामने खड़े होते हैं और कोई बात करते हैं तो किसी न किसी माध्यम से वो हमें इशारा करके जवाब देते हैं. मगर कभी कभी मन अधीर हो जाता है, और मन में एक प्रश्न है जो आपसे कर रहा हूँ, प्रभु इतना विलंब क्यों?
He's speaking about his experience in having very challenging moments, difficult moments, and over the last 10, 15 years, after that time, since that time, what he's seen is that not only is God there, but that God speaks to us, and that God speaks to us in many different ways. मैं हमेशा लोगों को ऐसे कहती हूँ. I always explain to people that divine voice is always there. It's not always, doesn't sound like a voice always. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it's a feeling, as you say. Sometimes it comes in a different signal in different ways. Sometimes it comes in the form of somebody who arrives on our doorstep at exactly the moment that we need it. That divine voice comes in so many ways. The problem is that a lot of times we cannot hear it because there's so many other voices in our mind. अधिकतर जब लोग आंख बंद करके ध्यान में बैठते हैं भगवान की आवाज को सुनने के लिए, तो क्या होता है कि इतने सारा शोर है अंदर. When we sit down to meditate and we want to hear that voice of the divine, the dilemma is so many voices start shouting in our mind. Voice of desire. I really hope this works. I really hope this works. I've got to get enlightened. Oh my God, I'm such a mess. Please, let this work. Let this work. And along the way, this meditation should make me so much better at my job that I become CEO by next year. So the voice of desire, voice of fear. This is never going to work. I'm doomed. I'm useless. I'll never get control of my mind. I'll always be negative. I'll always be depressed. I'll always be miserable. I'm wasting time. I should be using this time to make something of myself. इतने voices आते हैं मन में. Desire, fear, judgment. We're in the past. We're in the future. Some smell comes. It reminds us of something. चले जाते हैं 10 साल पहले. We hear something, takes us in the future. It's the nature of the mind. But God's voice, typically, that divine voice, is actually much softer than the other voices that are shouting from our own head. There's a wonderful experiment that I love. Chelo, we'll do it. Okay. So where Rishi Kumar, Suraj and Sanjay, are आप लोग हाथ खड़े कर दो? Okay. Can everybody see them? Just the two of them. Just the two of them. आप लोग खड़े हो जाओ एक मिनट के लिए. Okay. Now, everybody see them? If you are on this side, you are group 1. Okay? Raise your hand if you're group 1. पीछे भी group 1 है. आप सभी लोग, you're all group 1. Everybody is group 1. Okay. Now, on this side, you are group 2. So group 2, raise your hand. Wonderful. Now, group 1, your job is to chant Om. Okay? Let's practice. Go, group 1. Just only over here, group 1. Keep your eyes open so you can see when I bring my hand down. When the hand comes down, you stop chanting. Great. Beautiful. Group 2. Your job, and I know this is going to sound crazy and you're not going to believe me, but trust me. Your job is to make as much noise, what we call ruckus, as you possibly can. I know this is satsang time. I know this is an ashram. I know we have maryada. But for just 30 seconds, usko dur karo. Just make as much noise as you possibly can. Go. अरे ये तो कुछ भी नहीं है. Great. Great. Okay. Now, if I raise my hand on your side, then you do whatever your job is. So if my hand goes up here, this side chants Om. Hand goes up here, this side makes all kinds of noise. Okay? Now, we're going to begin now. This side is actually much bigger than this side, so you guys have to be extra loud. So we begin together, and if my hand comes down on your side, it means आप लोग शांत हो जाओ. Okay? Now, great. Group 1. Did you people start chanting only when they became quiet, or were you actually chanting from the beginning? Really? Could anybody hear them? Anybody over here, could you hear them? This is the nature of our mind. This is God's voice. It's always there. The problem is this. This is desire, this is fear, this is ego, this is conditioning. This is all of that. What most of us do is we go out looking for this. We go out looking for this. I've got to do something so that in my life there should be Om. But it's already there. Pehle se hai. It's not about finding God's voice or finding that divine presence. It's already there. It's about quieting this. And so all of our attention and energy and focus, if what we want is to hear this voice, needs to be, how do I quiet all of the other voices ताकि मैं इसको सुन लूं, ताकि मैं इसके अनुभव करूं. And that becomes the work, is making all of this quiet, so that not only our ears but our mind, because again, of course, the noise is not just in our ears, the noise is, it fills all of our mind. We're constantly thinking about it. This becomes quiet through our meditation, through our japa, through our seva, through our practices that bring the mind into one point. Slowly, 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 this will become more and more and more apparent. Beautiful. Other questions? Any other question that anyone has? Yes, come.
A very good evening. I wonder if you remember me or not. I came here last year in the month of November.
Yes.
Goodness. So I came here every year, and whenever, like whatever time I spent here, I feel the divinity inside my body, inside my soul. But gradually, whenever we went back to our workplace, went back to our study, went back to where we actually belong, we kind of lost this peacefulness inside us. We often engaged in our day-to-day work that we forget that there is something more important to that we need to focus on.
Absolutely.
So how can we maintain this, or we can say that how can we remain in this positive divinity when we went back to our actual places?
Beautiful. It's so interesting because you would never expect that I could eat once and be done. Right? You would never say, well, तुमने पिछले हफ्ते खाया, आज क्यों करना है? आज दोबारा क्यों खाया? I ate last week, I have to eat again today. Just because I ate last week doesn't mean I don't have to eat today. I have to not keep eating continuously, but beach mein, whenever I get empty, whenever my stomach is empty, when my glucose levels are low, I need to eat. Similarly, you would never say, well, last year I slept. Why do I have to sleep again this year? Not just this year, this night. You would never say, well, the last night I slept. Aaj kyun karna? Every night we have to sleep. Every day we have to eat. Every day we have to drink. Every day we have to bathe. You wouldn't say, oh, well, I bathed last week, why I have to bathe again? Because we understand that there is an accumulation on the body of, I don't like the word dirt, because it's not always dirty. Sometimes we're not actually out in the dirt, but there's an accumulation of kind of waste, gunk. It comes as our sweat, it comes as where we are, what we're, taking from the world outside, it's coming from within. And we understand every day I have to clean it. Otherwise it starts to smell. Eventually I'll start to grow all kinds of bacteria and God knows what. So we have to clean it. In the same way, our spiritual practice is needed to keep clearing the mind, negativity, ignorance, illusion, stuckness. It keeps accumulating on us. If you've ever lived near a body of water, not like Ganga that flows very fast, but a lake or a pond that's more still, what you see is every day you go out there and there's a layer of film that has formed on the top of the water. You clear it away. You want to see your reflection, you have to clear it away. Our spiritual practice, our meditation, our prayers, all of what we do is a way in which we are clearing away the gunk from our mind. Like we clean it off our body, like we remove it from the surface of the water. Because if that's there on the surface, I cannot see myself properly. In the same way, if it's there in my mind, I cannot see myself properly. The lake shows me my physical reflection, but in my own mind and awareness, I'm able to see the truth of who I am. If I am clean. So when you go back, you've got to really make sure to have these practices. Here it's like all day long we're just being cleansed. It's like Ganga is flowing over us in the pujas, in the prayers, in the environment. So you don't have to pay a lot of attention to clearing that. We still have to sometime. Ask anybody who lives here for a long time. You still have to. But when you're back, it's a lot harder. There's a lot more that needs to be cleared. So really make sure that your spiritual practices are very strong. But also, set reminders for yourself. Because a lot of times it's just that we're distracted. The minute we get back into our meditation, it's like, yeah, we feel it again, we're there again. Just set reminders during the day. For me, what I do is every time I take in any food or drink, drinking water, drinking coffee, whatever it might be, doesn't matter, or eating anything. Any time before I take something, it's just a moment. Just a moment. Sometimes like this, sometimes eyes closed, sometimes eyes open. Sometimes it's just a moment. It's gratitude, it's checking back in, it's reconnection. And all it does is it's like a rebooting of the system, right? I had learned many years ago that I shouldn't turn my computer off very frequently because it was actually bad for it, so I stopped doing that. And then all of these weird things started happening, and recently our computer expert told me, no, you have to keep restarting it at least every 2-3 days. If not every day, at least every few days, you have to shut it down, you have to restart it. It has to reboot. So these moments are like rebooting for ourselves inside. So just set some reminders. Every time before you have something to eat or drink is a great one because we drink and eat a lot. So you've got a lot of reminders during the day. If you're someone who drives a lot, you could say every time before you turn the key in the ignition. Every time before you open your inbox, every time before you choose anything you do a lot in the day, and just connect that thing with, before you do it, just a moment of reconnection. It could be a moment of mantra. It could be a moment of just thank you, God. It could be a moment of coming back to the breath. But just something that brings you back into truth. And make sure that your morning and evening sadhana practice is really strong. So that as you're at work, as you're in that, you come back home, like you come back home and have a shower. Well, you need a shower for the mind. To bring it back. Bring it back. And it's why you keep coming here, because it keeps recharging the batteries. It's why, since time immemorial, people have been going to spiritual centers. Going to be in the presence of the Guru. Going on retreat. Because it charges our batteries. Beautiful. Have a beautiful, beautiful rest of your evening, everyone. And so much love to you all.